Knoxville, Tennessee. Monday morning, November 21st, 2016. Emma locked her door from the inside. That morning, her mother kept calling her daughter to get up for school as usual. She knocked, called her name, and finally broke the lock to enter. The room was neat. Sunlight was shining through the curtains. Emma lay still on the bed as if she were fast asleep. But just a few seconds later, everything fell apart. Emma was no longer breathing. No one saw any signs of a struggle. The door was not broken. The bedroom had not been heard from the night before. Even when the police arrived, the scene was almost intact, except for one small detail that no one expected: a very thin hole in the wall, right next to the bed. Emma Jane Walker, 16 years old, excellent student, talented cheerleader, and the family's only daughter, passed away to the shock of the whole community. Just a few days ago, she was happily hanging out with her friends at school, wearing her cheerleading uniform, cheering for the football team, where her ex-boyfriend, William Riley Gall, was playing. No one expected that. Right behind the stadium lights, there would be a chain of tension, threats, and control, things that would lead to an unforeseen tragedy. And then, from a tiny bullet hole in the wall, the biggest secret in Emma's life began to be revealed. Little did Emma Jane Walker know that that night would be the last night she would sleep peacefully in her familiar room. A few weeks ago, she and William Riley Gall, her ex-boyfriend, officially ended their 2-year relationship. Although they had been a popular couple at school, their relationship had become strained. William was often jealous, controlling, and constantly texted Emma when she didn't respond in time. Family and friends noticed something was wrong and advised Emma to keep her distance. She listened. However, William did not accept the breakup easily. He began to act strangely, pretending to be harmed to attract attention, even sending mysterious messages about being threatened. At the same time, Emma told her relatives that a stranger dressed in black appeared in front of her house, knocked on the door at night, and then disappeared. Those signs made Emma worried, but she did not report it to the police because she did not have specific evidence. On Sunday evening, November 20th, 2016, Emma had dinner with her parents, then went to her room as usual. She locked the door, texted a few friends, and went to sleep. No one in the house heard any unusual noises throughout the night. Around midnight, outside the house, a dark figure quietly approached Emma's bedroom window. The person was carrying a metal object, standing still in the dark and doing his thing. Two small sounds echoed in the night. From inside, everything was still silent. Emma had passed away in her own home, without anyone hearing anything. No one had witnessed it directly, but the small clues, the overlooked details, finally began to paint a portrait of someone who had planned it all along. Monday morning began like any other in the small house in Knoxville. Emma's mother, accustomed to her daughter waking up early to get ready for school, began to worry as the hours passed and Emma's room remained locked. She knocked on the door, calling her daughter's name, repeating it over and over again, but received no response. The feeling of unease grew stronger. When the call was still silent, she mustered up the courage to unlock the door, but it was locked from the inside. Somehow she broke the latch, pushed the door open, and entered the room. Before her eyes was a familiar sight: a neat room, soft light streaming through the curtains, a neatly arranged pillow. She lay still, motionless in the quiet room. At first glance, she looked like she was resting, but seconds later, the mother was horrified to realize that her daughter was no longer responding. The family immediately called an ambulance. The 911 call was recorded as a frantic, trembling mother in a panic. Paramedics were dispatched immediately, followed by the local police. When the first responders entered, they left the room as it was, avoiding disturbances. There was no sign of disorder, no blood, no alarms. The body was found lying on its back, the bedding neatly arranged. almost undisturbed. Investigators concluded that the incident occurred while Emma was unprepared, possibly while she was sleeping. During their initial inspection, investigators noticed an unusual detail. On the wall near the head of the bed, they noticed an unusual spot, what looked like a small peeling of paint, but was actually a mark of an external force. Outside the window, the police found two small metal casings lying in the middle of the lawn. That's when the first theory was formed. Someone had stood outside the window and done something through the wall. The information was quickly relayed to headquarters. Police cordoned off the area, recorded every detail, and seized evidence. Meanwhile, news of Emma's sudden passing spread throughout the school, leaving students, teachers, and the community in a state of shock. A beloved, exemplary girl was gone, and the cause until then was still a big question mark. After staking out the area around the house, the investigation team began a thorough search of every detail inside and outside Emma's bedroom. There were no signs of forced entry or broken glass. The room was largely intact. However, the wall at the head of the bed continued to attract attention. When the semi-covered curtains were removed, technicians discovered two small holes the size of a ballpoint pen tip, lying horizontally, just inches apart. Outside, the garden leading to the back lawn revealed more clues. Under a low bush, the team found two metal cases that had been slightly dampened by the night dew. The distance from that location to the bedroom window was just enough for a person to stand. The results from the specialized agency showed that Emma did not react after the incident, and the time of death was determined to be after midnight. There were no other signs of collision on the body, other than the main impact that directly affected life. What puzzled the investigators was the manner in which it happened. No noise, no vandalism, and almost no physical evidence in the room. But it was the absolute silence that raised suspicion. Someone had planned it carefully, knew exactly where the bedroom was, and picked the right time, when the family was asleep. That led the police to believe that this was not a spontaneous act. This was preparation. Immediately after completing the crime scene investigation, the authorities began screening those who had the closest contact with the victim. Emma was a well-liked student, with no conflicts with friends or neighbors. All of her social relationships were clean. The name William Riley Gall was quickly placed at the top of the list of people to be investigated first. William was Emma's ex-boyfriend. The relationship between the two had lasted for more than 2 years, but had recently ended. Emma's friends shared that she had felt pressured in the last months of the relationship, often complaining about William's controlling messages and disrespectful behavior. Despite the breakup, William still tried to contact her many times, sometimes even appearing near Emma's house at night. Emma herself had told her close friends that she felt uneasy when she saw strange figures around her house, something that now made investigators particularly concerned. The police decided to invite William to work. During the initial conversation, he appeared calm, claiming that he had nothing to do with the incident. William said that on the night of the incident, he had been at his friend's house, sent a few final messages to Emma, and gone to bed early. This statement did not initially seem suspicious, but when the time of the messages was compared, the police discovered an unreasonable gap of several hours that William could not satisfactorily explain. During subsequent interviews, William began to show inconsistencies. When asked about his grandfather's gun, an item that William had shown off to his friends, he said he did not know where it was and did not use it. However, two of William's close friends, after being questioned in private, revealed that a few days before the incident, William had asked to borrow black clothes and expressed his desire to do something big to attract Emma's attention. One of the two friends also recalled that William had described Emma's bedroom in great detail, including details about the window. From these unusual signs, the investigation agency began to plan further. They asked the two friends to cooperate, wearing recording devices when meeting William, with the aim of finding any loose words. In the recorded conversation, William appeared confused, mentioned the missing gun many times, and worried that the police would find traces. He did not admit it directly, but his roundabout way of speaking, in statements like, "They can't find it if we dump it in the right place," gave the investigation team clear grounds for suspicion. The key point came from a special situation. William, in a panic, called two friends to help him dispose of the evidence. The police monitored the entire movement from a distance. When William arrived at a deserted bridge area at night, he was carrying a cloth bag containing a long, heavy object, a 9mm gun. At that moment, the police intervened and detained William for formal investigation. After being taken to the police station, William refused to provide further information, citing fatigue and the need for a lawyer. However, the evidence was sufficient to conduct an in-depth examination. The recovered gun completely matched the two metal casings found at the scene. On the other hand, the black clothes and gloves found in William's car contained paint stains and fabric fibers that matched the material of Emma's bedroom curtains. Careful analysis of the phone device and location data also showed that at the time of the incident, William's phone had been near Emma's house, contrary to his previous testimony. Text messages before and after the incident also showed conflicting emotions, from blame, anger, to regret, that are common in cases of emotional instability. In addition to the physical evidence, psychological analysts were called in. They said William's behavior demonstrated a pattern of someone who tends to be controlling in relationships, does not accept rejection, and often reacts in an extreme way to get attention. These descriptions match the previous accounts of Emma's friends, further supporting the idea that the behavior was premeditated, not a spontaneous reaction. Within 2 weeks of the incident, the police had completed a full case file. William Riley Gall was formally charged with multiple counts of taking another person's life, possessing a dangerous instrument, and obstructing an investigation. The investigation file ran to hundreds of pages, including witness statements, audio recordings, physical examination results, and analysis by independent experts. Patience, close coordination, and the use of modern investigative tactics helped the team solve the case step by step. It is worth noting that this was not a harmful act committed in a moment of anger, but a series of deliberately prepared actions. Something that the investigators themselves admitted left them shocked. After months of careful preparation, the trial of William Riley Gall officially began in the spring of 2018 in Knox County. The courtroom was packed. The victim's family sat in the front row, quietly observing every development. On the other side, the defendant sat with his head bowed, his face strangely calm. The prosecutor opened by reenacting the entire investigation, from the discovery of the scene, the process of collecting evidence, to the recordings and witness statements. They emphasized the element of pre-planning and the defendant's ability to control his behavior, thereby arguing that the action was not the result of a moment of loss of control, but the result of a series of careful calculations. The defense attorney focused on the psychological instability, arguing that the client acted in a complex emotional state, not fully aware of the consequences. But the prosecution countered with a series of phone records, location maps, physical evidence, and audio recordings, indisputable evidence of deliberate preparation. One of the most eye-catching moments in court came when text messages between the defendant and the victim were played. They showed a long series of expressions of control and torment, interspersed with apologies and requests to come back. The tone of the voice as he read those messages during the trial brought tears to many in the audience, not just for the loss, but for the warning signs that had been overlooked. After days of debate, the jury moved to the verdict. After just a few hours of deliberation, the verdict was announced. William Riley Gall was convicted of first-degree murder, along with additional charges of disorderly conduct and possession of a dangerous instrument. The sentence was set at life in prison with no parole for at least 51 years. The verdict was met with public approval, but also left a lingering feeling in the community. Many people shared that they had seen the young couple walking together, but had no idea that their relationship contained many signs of instability. The school where Emma had studied held a special memorial service and launched a campaign to raise awareness about healthy relationships among young people. The trial ended, but the echoes of the case still linger, as a profound reminder of the fragile boundaries between teenage love and harmful behavior. Emma Jane Walker left this world at such a young age, with her dreams and future still unfulfilled. Her story is not just a legal document closed with a verdict, but a powerful reminder of what is often overlooked in seemingly harmless relationships. Many people who have seen Emma smiling on the school playground, cheering on her friends, or chatting happily in class would not have guessed that behind that image is a silent journey filled with warning signs. Not everyone knows how to recognize subtle control or emotional manipulation, especially in adolescence, when emotions are unstable and boundaries are still unclear. Family, friends, teachers, those who were close to Emma, all carry regret. If only they could have recognized it sooner. If only they could have intervened in time. But it was they, after the incident, who turned their pain into action. A scholarship fund was established in Emma's memory. Sharing sessions and workshops are held in schools and communities to educate young people about building respectful relationships, knowing how to say no, and listening to unusual expressions from those around them. This story is no longer about an individual or a family. It touches the heart of anyone who has ever been a parent, has passed the age of 16, or has ever placed their trust in first love. Because the line between care and control, between love and possession, is sometimes so thin that we don't even realize it until things can't be turned back. The Emma Walker case, after all, is a tragic song, but also a wake-up call, reminding us never to ignore the smallest signs of abnormality.